Hello everyone. In today's video we are going to talk about, can Linux have virus? Well, a Windows user will promptly download an antivirus to secure the system from any virus or third-party malware. But you do not have to do it, or you do not find many Linux users who will install antivirus softwares in their Linux distribution. Well, you might be wondering that whether Linux requires antivirus or not, or if users do not install antivirus, why is that so? Well, there is a myth, and that is Linux systems cannot get viruses. Yes, they can get infected by viruses, and for such scenarios we have some solutions and we have some reasons as well. Well, if we talk about some of the history of Linux, well, Linux is based on Unix that was developed in 1970s, and Linux heavily relied on the concepts of Unix. And in the Unix system, the user account and the administrator had the clear distinction, and at the same time it is applicable for the Linux system as well. So if by any chance, if there is any virus that will affect your Linux system, it will be extremely difficult for the virus or the malware to penetrate or infect your system. It can only affect the user account, and the thing is that it will require administrative privileges to get spread into your system. If we talk about the other aspect that makes Linux very secure, that is Linux community fixes the bugs very fast, as Linux distributions are open source, and because of that, whenever we get any bug or any virus, the community work very rapidly to get rid of those problems, and that also makes sure that Linux does not get that virus in the future again. And if we talk about some other aspect, well, in terms of applications installation, they get installed differently. Many virus creators, when they attack a Windows system, they use application as their communication tool. They penetrate through application and they reside their viruses and malwares in their applications, and whenever the application gets installed, that virus and malware gets penetrated into the user system and it works. But on the other hand, if we talk about the Linux, we do not install applications like this. The way Linux users install applications on their system is completely different. In every Linux distribution, we have package manager and software repositories, and in the package manager, we refer it to the tool in which new applications are installed on Linux, and software repository is referred to a location from where we can download and install software packages. The software repositories only contain the software that has been verified by the Linux distribution itself, and that makes the installation of application on Linux much safer process than Windows. And because of that, we get a very limited number of malwares or viruses in Linux distribution. Other aspect is target users are very small, because there are only limited number of people or user who opt for Linux distribution as their primary operating system. More than 80% of the users in the world prefer to go with Windows operating system, and as Windows cover the whole market or major chunk of the market, that is why the malware developers and virus developers target that particular audience. So as Linux gets very little share in the market, that is why developers do not put their efforts for this small target of people, and that is another reason why Linux get very limited number of viruses. At the end, I will talk about, is there a need to install antivirus on your Linux distribution? Well, precaution is always better than the cure, and because of that, there is no harm in installing antivirus software onto your Linux. However, if you do not want to install antivirus, there are some other ways that you can follow to stay safe while using Linux. For example, you can always keep the updated version of the software on the system, and there are some Linux distribution that comes with a firewall by default, but not all of the Linux distribution comes with a firewall by default. So it's all up to you if you want to download and install an antivirus or not. But in general, we have seen that yes, Linux distributions can get viruses, but chances are very low. And even if we get the virus, we can get rid of that particular virus very rapidly. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please leave a like, subscribe and press the bell icon. I'll get back to you in the next video. Till then, take care.